Jesus is a friend of mine.
Jesus is my friend.
Jesus is a friend of
I
mine.
have a friend in Jesus.
Do you want to die, Sydney? Your mother sure didn't.
Fuck you, you creep. Please don't.
Jesus wept.
Tell the sheriff I got him.
I got plans for you. I'm gonna slit your eyelids in half so you don't blink when I stab you in the face.
You don't know what death is.
I like to dissect girls. Did you know I'm utterly insane?
Hey, this is Trevor with Blood, Guts, and B-Movie Trash Talk, and we watch and review movies that you do not have time for. Before we move forward with episode number 20, I have a few people I'd like to introduce. First off, we'll start with Steve. Don't skimp on the Sexay Normand.
Dang, I think I sprained my hand this morning.
How?
Grabbing my foot to stretch. You know, I
Seriously?
lay on my stomach and reach
Yeah.
back and grab my heel so I can, stretch your...
Yeah.
And got it caught in my sock.
Hello
Damn it,
there.
dude.
How are you doing? Pretty good. Now, people are listening to this. Not sure if you understood what the fuck was going on with that clip.
That was, I think he's like 7 years old. Ron Boone, the broadcaster for the Jazz, explaining to David Locke when he didn't know they were on air about how he sprained his thumb in his sock while he was doing a stretch.
He was also a former Jazz player.
Yeah, that's right. Former Jazz great.
Oh man, we went to the Jazz game the other night. But before we talk about that, we have one other awesome person to introduce.
Another former Jazz great.
Yes,
Danny.
He
number
redshirted.
17. Vasquez.
Yes, my time on the Utah Jazz is extremely infamous.
You were like the beefier, like better Matt Harpering.
It's true.
I was the this isn't racist, but I was like the white version of Antoine Carr.
Oh boy. Only because you wore those nice Macho Man Randy Savage visors.
Oh, dude, only those visors, dude. And I just elbowed people left and right.
Oh boy. But anyways, Steve, we went to the Jazz game, Danny, the other day for New Year's Eve, and we were walking around, and Thurl Bailey was walking around in what seemed to be a black bed sheet. And if you guys don't know who Thurl Bailey is, just Google him. He's
Former Jazz quote-unquote great.
Yeah, he's terrible. But anyways, episode 20.
We're not here to talk about that big piece of shit now. We're here to talk about classy episode 20 for you.
Yes.
What do we got?
It's a great movie. Danny, would you bless us with the title?
So I guess it depends on where you're at, but what we're looking at is the title of Head of the Family.
That's right.
Yes. Pretty snazzy pick from 1996, released by Full Moon Features.
This movie was directed by Charles Band as Robert Talbot. This is the same guy that brought you Ginger Dead Man, Evil Bong 2, Puppet Master 10, and don't forget Ginger Dead Man versus the Evil Bong. And the screenplay was by a fella named Benjamin Carr, much like Antoine Carr from our previous discussion.
Minus the cool glasses.
Minus the glasses.
But it seems that the fantastic director Charles Band, I apologize, owns the production company Full Moon Features, and it looks like they've put out some fantastic movies.
Yeah, Full Moon Features has put out better movies than this fella.
Puppet
Master, which I really enjoyed the first one. Have the box set for the whole thing, but
well, yeah,
it's a struggle.
I think you can get the box set for $5 at Walmart, dude.
Hey. But he also did a pretty cool re-release of Tourist Trap.
Yeah,
through this label, which is pretty fucking cool.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, but
I wasn't able to find the budget. Were you guys?
No. I could not. I could not find the budget anywhere.
Mm-mm.
I'll assume there wasn't one, but
$5 with $5.
Yeah.
With that being said, though, Trevor, if there's a way to possibly sum up the movie in a paragraph or two, much like they'd probably put on the back of the box, say, what would that be?
Oh boy, well you're just in luck, Steve, because
you got the box.
I have this movie.
Oh jeez.
Yeah. It was a Christmas gift, and there are many more from Full Moon Features that came with it, which I'm very excited about. And they all star the fantastic Jacqueline Lavelle.
Oh, they do, huh?
They do. Well, most of them. She's kind of their token actor, which God bless their soul. Something's twisted in Knob Hollow. In the midst of a torrid affair with Loretta, a biker's wife, Lance discovers that the tiny town's weirdest residents, the Stackpole family, have been doing some hideous human experiments in the bowels of their basement. Lance blackmails Myron Stackpole, the head of the family, and his crazy controlled siblings into murdering Loretta's husband. But Lance soon finds that he's way in over his head. Join Myron and his creepy clan in their dysfunctional, disfigured den of demented decadence for an abnormally good time.
Look at all those D's.
I know. Now, fun fact here, before we really jump into the nitty-gritty here. The Mrs. Stackpole, the retarded bimbo sister.
The professional wrestler, probably.
Her and China scissored from time to time. No. She was actually she was a porn star.
Oh.
But there's controversy surrounding her career. She actually migrated or illegally entered into the United States from Canada and had a fake ID and got into the porn industry when she was 16 years old.
Which is legal in other countries.
Well, she got caught finally after she was 18, and it was this huge ordeal. They had tried to get rid of everything she was in because she was 16 years old, and it was pretty bad. But yeah, so that's the highlight.
And she went on to become wrestling's Trish Stratus, right? She's also a Canadian, I think.
But yeah, that's the back of the box. Now, what we like to do before we jump into the spoiler review is to kind of give you an idea whether or not this is something that's worth a watch. And in doing that, we make sure we don't spoil it for you.
Yeah.
So, Steve, I would love to start with you.
Ooh, this baby's teetering. It's teetering. I'll just say there wasn't enough of the head, the giant head, for me. We could have watched this. This movie could have literally taken place in the form of a trailer, and you would have known what happened.
Yeah.
They could have cut out everything and just put that there. So I'm gonna say, it would be a great idea. It was just poorly executed, I think. So I'm neutral. Flip a coin. That's my recommendation.
So flip a coin on the weekend and decide whether or not you want to watch it. I'm sure it's on YouTube, or I'm sure it's pretty easy to access.
Yeah. This is a movie you want somebody to see that you own, but maybe you don't want to watch it more than once every 15 years.
Well, it came out 20,
How about you?
Yeah, it came out 20 years ago, so I mean, you're pretty much saying watch it once.
Yeah. How about you, Danny? What do you think?
I don't know, man. I'm with Steve. I would have liked to have seen more of the head of the household. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a coin flip for me because it was kind of an interesting idea. It was kind of poorly executed, and again, I mean, when half the movie takes place with the fake Joan of Arc play, and that's all the climax there is, it's kind of like, oh, okay.
They had to go somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. If you were all about excessive amounts of exposition, this movie's for you. I don't want to spoil it, but I mean it has the potential to be something that's fantastic, but it does lack does lack the ability to be scary. I mean, I think it's more of a comedy.
There's not even a lot of gore or much of anything, really.
I mean, this whole story is pretty ridiculous if you kind of think about it. I would recommend watching the trailer, but to me, I don't recommend buying this because you can probably find a way to watch it online, and it is a coin flip for me as well. You're not going to miss out.
Well, it's too bad because the trailer makes it look great.
That's true. The special effects are pretty cool. I mean, if you Google the poster art for this, it's fucking ridiculous. Like, you're so excited to watch it when you see it. It's just absurd. But it's definitely something that looks great, and you're going to be disappointed. So, worth a watch. I'd say if you're a huge B-movie fan, I'd say, and you're a fan of Full Moon Features, give it a watch, but regular Joe Schmo, you're not going to miss anything. That's my thought.
Yeah, I felt like that's a pretty good assessment.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll take a quick break, and then we'll be right back to jump into this in depth.
Scream at us on Twitter at BMovieTrashTalk, at Trevor Turpin, and at Steve Norman.
Over here, I'm a boglin. Me and my buddies need a place to hide out. Come a little closer. Oh, did I scare you? Oh, I do that so well. If you take us home, we'll kiss your Aunt Martha. We'll eat your peas. And we hope you know lots of girls. Hey, the name's Boglins. Each sold separately, and we're looking for good homes. Maybe yours.
We're back. So the director for this, Charles Band, he is responsible for some of the worst but best movies like ever made.
Like
this
Ginger
guy
Dead
was
Man.
But I mean, this is going back to like 86. This is going back to a couple years, or God, 84, before he started doing all this shit.
Mm-hmm.
So he's responsible for Ghoulies. He's responsible for Troll. He's responsible for Terror Vision, for Breeders, for From Beyond. Like, yeah, and he's just responsible for all of this crap that came out in like the mid 80s that is amazing to watch, but they're so terrible at the same time.
Yeah, well, and to add to that, I think a lot of it has to do with his father. His father's Albert Band, and he was a huge filmmaker, who started his career in the early 50s, and he began financing a shit ton of pictures through like the 70s and 80s, and he really, really helped his son bring together his own production company, which inspired a lot of these fucking ridiculous movies. But I mean, his dad produced movies like Castle Freak. I don't know if you've watched Castle Freak's great. It has Jeffrey Combs in it. Highly recommend it. His dad.
I'm a Coombs man.
His dad was an executive producer for Honey, I Blew Up the Kids.
Classic.
Ghoulies 2, Terror Vision, Troll. So him and his dad, his dad kind of pulled him on the roller coaster to take a ride
Troll's
with him.
great too.
Yeah, so these guys are just
fancy.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess we'll just get into what this baby's about. There's a guy named Howard that's apparently some kind of do-it-all criminal that drives a Harley Davidson. Howard has a wife called Loretta, and she's having an affair with the owner of the town grocery store / diner named Lance. After tons of non-stop exposition, there's a scene where Lance and Loretta are driving back from one of their many escapades, and they see a weird fence detour in the middle of the road, leading cars to the house of the Stackpoles. So before we go any further with the Stackpoles, Danny and Trevor,
yes,
why don't you guys just tell me about the Stackpoles?
Trevor, do you want to lead off on this?
Sure, I'll go first. Many times through this movie, they're referred to as retards. So
they look it.
Yeah. So one of them is the skinny, scrawny dude that wears some sort of like
fake eyeballs.
I would say it's a mixture between early 90s version of like underwater like swim goggles / pitch black Vin Diesel glasses.
You remember the glasses?
I think that's a great
You
look.
remember the glasses from the original Invisible Man? That's what those look like to me.
Oh,
Where it had
yeah.
like the side
yeah.
frame, like the side lens that went like halfway down the temple. So weird.
Yeah, it's to completely block out any light. Yeah, that's exactly what they are. So you have this guy. You have his brother, who's this giant mongoloid. Pretty stupid, just the strength. And then you have their sister, and she's just like a total bombshell.
She's the illegal immigrant we spoke of earlier.
Yes, we talked about. But the family's quite kooky, and they, from time to time, come to this shop that, what's the character's name?
Lance.
That Lance owns. It's like a diner slash
the only grocery store.
Yeah, the only grocery store wherever they're at. But from I would say every day, a couple times a week, they come in and they get groceries and they leave. So pretty kooky family. The town just knows they're odd, but that's about all they know. What do you? Did I hit everything there, Danny? You have anything to add?
Just apparently that the entire town wants to bang the one sister.
Baby wants to fuck.
Ernestina, I want to say was her name.
Yep.
Oh man,
God.
Yeah.
name.
Jesus Christ, give this guy a gold star. I forgot.
While we're getting into details, let's not forget that the big dumb, the doofus,
Yeah.
strong brother,
Yes.
looks like a super muscly version of Harry Dunn. Like
Slash
if Harry
my
Dunn
Uncle
was
Steve.
big and strong. Yeah.
Yeah,
If your Uncle Steve could take the sweats off.
He looked he looked like one of the original Reuters from WWE before it was WWE, when it was WWF.
When it was just WW.
Just WW.
and his name is Otis.
Otis.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we jump back to the house. The cars are all getting sidetracked over to that house. So Lance, realizing that it's not a normal spot, like what they did is they drug a fence out to route the cars over there with a sign. So Lance goes and follows it, and he gets out of the car and investigates and sees the Stackpoles dragging a man from his truck into their house.
Otis is the one that's smashing some dude's skull on the car.
The big retard Otis.
Yeah, so Lance sees what happens, and this is his token to move forward with blackmail.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I think next it just turns out that the Stackpoles, they get into their kind of background, right? Where it turns out the Stackpoles are quintuplets, but rather than being born a normal human, they each have one trait of a normal human being.
That's true. They have one trait of a normal human being. They're all lacking one thing.
Yeah, so basically, one's very strong.
Otis.
One has well-developed senses, the Larry David character with the weird glasses.
Yeah.
One is good-looking, and one is very smart.
Yes.
And the family is obviously run by the one that's very good-looking. Just kidding. The family's run by the one that's very smart. And he is a giant head in a wheelchair with hands.
And little fucking feet. If you look at the cover, it's pretty ridiculous. But before we get into that, Steve, we have to jump back a bit. So,
Jumping back,
which we like to do, we tend to get ahead of ourselves.
Get it? Because of the movie?
Oh,
So,
shit, Steve. God damn it.
Lance has a dilemma. Now, the Harley Davidson crazy dude that's always in the diner is married to Loretta.
Right.
Loretta is cheating on her husband with Lance.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to scheme and trying to find ways that they can get rid of this Harley Davidson rider so that way they can continue their affair. And luckily, Lance runs into this jackpot by seeing the Stackpoles guide people into their property so they can do God knows what with them.
Make them disappear at least.
Yeah, at least that's what they're doing. So what he does is, instead of going to the Stackpole residence, he goes back to work and he approaches them when they come in to get groceries.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically lets them know that he knows what's going on, or as far as he knows, that they're dragging people there, they're beating the shit out of them and doing God knows what in their basement. and he wants to set up some sort of arrangement to where he's getting paid to essentially be quiet, right?
He wants a taste.
He wants a taste.
Just like Bernie Mac.
Well, he's not bribing them at first.
No, he actually, you're right. He's like threatening them.
Well, he tells them
to the authorities.
He tells them that they have to take care of good old Howard first before doing anything else.
That's true.
Right. What he actually tells them is that so he figures out that he's not going anywhere very fast. So he decides to pull a twofer and not only blackmails the Stackpoles into doing away with Howard, Loretta's husband, but also giving him $2,000 a week in cash because they're rich, right? They have like oil money or something.
Yeah, they just have a lot of money. It really doesn't.
No,
it
doesn't explain how they got their money at all.
One thing about the family before we go any further, though, is the giant head is able to control the family through a psychic ability in order to lure humans to their property and for him to perform experiments on them, because one day he wants to be able to house his brain in like a normal body. So he's controlling all of them
by proxy,
and that's why they look so stupid, because he's like controlling 3 different people plus himself.
Well, they're because they're the quadruplets. They all got those one features, and for whatever reason, he like sucked all of their brain power out. So like when he was born, that's why he's got his giant head, because he can use his full brain, because he got all the brain from all of them because they're all stupid.
Speaking of him being born, Danny, can you describe how someone would push that thing out of their vagina?
I think that's some
in as graphic detail as possible.
I think he ate his way out, dude. I think
head like a summer melon.
Dude.
Yeah, it's pretty big. Yeah, but he lives through Otis, the crazy Birdman, and the WWE Woman Intercontinental Champion.
Mm-hmm.
He just lives through them and controls them throughout the town to do his dirty work, so that way he can guide more people to the Stackpole residence in order to find that body that will house his intellectual power,
which it seems can only
powerhouse
fit into a giant head.
Yeah.
The way that Lance is able to bargain with the family is he's written down all of the details, and he's given it to a lawyer that he must call several times a day, or the lawyer will take the information over to the 5-0.
Yes.
After a little bit of time, the giant head gets tired of Lance's blackmail job, and I believe they track down one of the lawyers by listening in on a phone call or something, and kill the guy, rough him up and kill him, and I think they burn the paperwork or something.
Yeah, so the crazy dude with the not Otis, but the second brother has insane senses. So he can hear things like I guess they said, hear things like a fox and see like an eagle.
And he has just ridiculously fake looking eyes.
Yeah, just huge bulging eyes. But anyways, he listens into one of Lance's phone calls when he checks in, and they get the password. Like, I believe it's his mother's dog's name.
Yeah, so he's tired of being blackmailed, so he sends him out there, and he's being blackmailed by him saying, look, I've already sent a letter to my lawyer. If they don't hear from me every week, then you guys are going to be screwed, essentially. And then they go out and they send the Birdman, whatever he was, to like go listen to him from an alleyway, and he's somehow able to like hear through the building, like everything that's happening on the phone call.
Yeah.
So Myron, the brain, thinks that he has Lance by his balls.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, what I thought was interesting is the brain is yet wrong again.
Yeah, the brain's not very smart.
He's not?
very presumptuous. He doesn't give people credit for how smart they could be.
Well,
he definitely. I think it's mentioned.
Let's give the brain a little credit there. Did you see the people in the diner that were supposed to represent the town?
They were pretty stupid.
They're pretty dumb.
Trashy.
And for someone to not realize that it's a fucking fence with a little yellow arrow on it, and it's like, oh, let me drive into this person's driveway. Yeah, that town's full of some dumb hillbillies.
That's true. So, okay, we'll give him that.
Yeah.
The head, though, decides to kidnap Lance and Loretta, and Lance says that another lawyer has the paperwork or something like that, right?
Yeah, so he had a second...
He's got another guy.
Yeah, he's got another lawyer that has the information as well, and if he's doesn't check in or whatnot, then that lawyer's tipped to take it to the authorities.
And racking up seemingly a lot of money in placing these calls from like a phone booth, because this was the 90s and he had used quarters call all these guys like every hour.
Yeah.
So the head wants to know who this other lawyer is, and he wants the information destroyed.
So he's going to do it the good old-fashioned way.
Right, he's going to shake him down in his basement dungeon.
Yeah, he's going to torture him.
From there, Lance and Loretta are in the Stackpole's underground jail, and they try and shake Lance down, but he won't do anything. He actually looks pretty comfortable just sitting there, like laying upside down.
Now, can we talk a bit about how Lance is actually captured?
Yeah.
Sure. It couldn't hurt.
Yes. Now, apparently, Lance is doing all this for his lover, Loretta, but it sounds, or it looks to me that in this movie, what's her name, Danny?
Which one?
The Stackpole sister.
Oh, Ernestina?
Yeah,
Ernestina.
Ernestina, she uses her sex appeal to...
Oh, yeah. That's how you... in the most ridiculously unneeded scene when you have a muscle man.
Yeah, and I think we failed to talk about the unbelievable amount of softcore porn in this movie.
Yeah, it was... I mean, not only did they establish what was going on, which they could have done with just a couple, but they did it like non-stop. And it got to the point where the shots were so long that it was like... It was uncomfortable.
They're just banging for like,
you're like
2-3 minutes,
and
just
like,
spilling out exposition.
Yeah, and they're talking the whole time. Like, I think Game of Thrones, the TV show, got their ideas from these guys.
That was the craziest part about every single one of those scenes, though, is the fact that they literally talked the entire way through it.
Yeah.
Isn't that what you guys do?
Yeah, every time.
Oh, yeah, I plan my week.
I'm like, so what do you want to do tomorrow?
Yeah, so... you want to cook breakfast or go to breakfast or
after this? What do you say we? Yeah, like that type of thing.
Yeah,
yeah. They catch him. They catch him in a very creative way for having a strong man on their team.
Yeah,
because instead of just the strong man grabbing him, how do they get him, Trevor?
So Ernestina starts banging this dude, Lance, and as she ducks out of frame, Otis is there and punches Lance right in the face.
Which they could have done anyway.
Which is the second time that happened in this movie, though. That's how they got Howard, remember? They
used Ernestina to do it as well.
She was just standing on the side of the road that they magically knew he was going to be driving down, and somehow this guy, who was thicker than the tree he was hiding behind, like, she, steps to the side and knocks him out, too. Like, that was his move.
And Howard spends the first 20 minutes of the movie talking about his morals and how cheating is wrong and all this stuff, and then he drives down the only street in the town, which is probably how they knew where he was going to be driving.
I forgot about
it's
that.
It's like the only street in the town.
Yeah.
And so he just pulls over and he's like, oh, hey.
Yeah, so Lance and Loretta are dragged to the torture den of the Stackpoles.
Back in the Stackpoles, Lance is playing it pretty cool.
Yeah, he at this point, Myron Stackpole has admitted to Loretta that Lance isn't so faithful. And so...
And he's like, oh, come on.
There's a little bit of tension between Loretta and Lance, because Lance doesn't want to give up this last lawyer's name, because if he does, he has no grip over Myron and getting the money and everything like that.
Yeah, well, if he gives him up, he's dead, essentially.
Yeah, they're both dead. They're screwed.
And so Loretta decides that not only... I don't even think she's worried for her life. At this point, she just sees there's another guy more powerful than this guy, who was more powerful than my boyfriend, husband. So she explains to the head that he's exactly what she's been looking for, and explains how their life would be together like that. And the head doesn't exactly go for it, but he does do.
He does
what,
for a brief
Danny?
moment.
Oh my god, dude. That was one of the weirdest parts of the entire movie. So
Definitely.
this guy's like a floating head. He's kind of like the wheelchair version of Zed from the Power Rangers. How he's just kind of like floating there as a head.
Less handsome.
Yeah, less handsome, giant hands, and then out of nowhere, inexplicably, he just has this Gene Simmons-esque tongue.
Oh, that thing is... It's like... It reminded me of Freddy Krueger's long-ass
Yeah.
on New Nightmare.
Yeah, that's exactly what it was, but it somehow stretched like 5 feet, and then just at the very bottom of like her right boob, just like flicked it with his tongue. And then he's like, "Oh, that was good enough time to die," and that was it.
Yeah, and he decides at this point that rather than doing anything with her, since he's just a giant head with hands, he decides to reenact the Joan of Arc in his basement, and they start to burn her. Well, they act out like the whole thing.
Yeah, with let's mention the cast that they used for this act were the experiments or the past experiments that Mr. Stackpool had operated on in the past.
And everybody else is watching.
So they're all brain dead and retarded, and he brings them on to do this play. And I guess wherever they live, this stage has some historical value passed down through generations of his family. I guess Wilkes Booth.
Oh yeah, John Wilkes Booth did a play for them.
Yeah, did a play for them there and everything like that. But anyways,
it was very important to know
continue.
it was before he shot Lincoln.
Before or after he shot Lincoln. I was just thinking, was that on that or was that like on Seinfeld? Because I was like, that doesn't seem like something they would ask on here. But
and I thought it was funny when Myron Stackpole asks if Lance has ever heard of Joan of Arc. And he says, he's like, yeah, Ingrid Bergman, wasn't she like some sort of something? So it's like
a nurse.
It's kind of a little film nerd drop there, which was kind of funny.
So, yeah, when they're doing the Joan of Arc thing, it's so that Lance will say where the blackmail-alicious letter he has on them is located. And in the midst of the burning at the stake, well, right when it gets started, the dumb, strong Stackpole Otis sees Loretta in danger of burning and fights against the head's psychic hold on him and rescues her.
Yeah, right at the last moment. And this is the point where you realize Lance isn't going to save her. He's just going to save his own ass.
Well, and you got to remember, so Otis doesn't say anything the entire movie except for one line, which is "pretty girl." And when they were first going to see the first lawyer, he like saw this girl and he said "pretty girl," and you saw like the head grimace. And then he did it again when he was first trying to capture Loretta the first time, like dragging her from her bed. He's like, "Pretty girl, no, Otis, no hurt, pretty girl." And then the head says, "Oh, you're going to do what I tell you to do." So he's like struggling with him the entire way because...
Yeah, a little setup and payoff there.
Clever.
Yeah.
In a very clever movie. And so the house burns down, and Lance and the Stackpoles seemingly die, and Loretta realizes that the dumb, strong Stackpole Otis that rescued her
was fucking thrown down the stairs.
Oh, yeah, you forgot that part, Steve.
Remember, Lance throws him down the stairs.
You wanted to see more giant head, and then you left out the best part with the giant head.
Okay.
He just rolls his ass down the stairs, and this is the first time that you see the giant head leave his wheelchair.
So he stabs the Hawk Fox, whatever dude, I can't remember his name, Wheeler or something like that, like stabs him in the eyes, his big giant bug eyes, and that's how he's able to escape the burning play, because that guy like tries to take him down and hold him, and then the head, or Myron, is like wheeling himself in his electric scooter down the hallway, and then he literally just flips him, and then you see this giant fake head with like a doll body attached to it flying down the stairs. And that's like, and it was in slow motion, and it was probably the best part of the movie because I couldn't stop laughing when that happened.
It is pretty funny. And he's just laying at the bottom of the stairs, just like weeping and like bleeding. He's like,
yeah. All right. Yeah, back to you, Steve.
Yeah, so, excuse me, that definitely happens. And, Loretta, being the thinker that she is, realizes that the Otis Stackpole that rescued her is the heir to the family fortune. So she decides to get hitched.
Yeah, so she decides... Well, prior to that, though, Lance does get killed. He gets stabbed to death, right?
Seemingly.
So, yeah, so you believe everybody's dead. So, yeah, you're right, Steve. She gets the idea that everybody's burned to death in this house.
She's like, well, this is my ticket.
This is a ticket. And so she marries him, and... I don't know, they start laughing for some weird reason.
That's
and
what people do when they get married. They laugh nonstop.
Yeah. But anyways, Otis starts acting out of character, and that's where you realize that the Myron Stackpole did not die.
The
he was
big old head.
Actually just using...
Big Dumb Otis.
Yes, Big Dumb Otis as a way to keep her around, I guess. But funny...
He's not dead, apparently.
Yeah, so he's not dead. So it's set up for a sequel, and let me add that they actually were working on a sequel after this was made, and Mr. Band actually announced in 2008 that they were going to come out with a sequel.
And everyone's like, what is the movie you're making a sequel
to? What the fuck are you making a movie about now? But anyways, you can actually go to Full Moon Features and buy busts of the characters. And in this DVD I have, it actually has like a promo for the sequel to this movie.
That they're not going to make.
No, they are going to make it.
I read that they decided to like... I thought I read that they like disbanded that idea.
Well, they did.
Scrapped the idea.
They were supposed to do it like, I think in like 1998, and it never went through. But then in 2008, Band released the idea that he was going to move forward with a sequel. Now, I haven't seen much more information about it, but they're still selling merchandise and things regarding the sequel.
Okay, well, with that in mind, why don't we put our heads together for a minute or two and come up with what the sequel's about?
That's a good idea.
Danny, start us off.
Yeah, so the sequel is about Myron, the giant head, controlling Otis and finally realizing what it's like to be a man, and he finally gets to experience a woman for the first time, and then that's the movie.
Well, don't forget though that remember the part where Myron wasn't just a head; he was the big giant head from Third Rock from the Sun, and that's where it got really interesting. Because Shatner was controlling Shatner the whole time. Remember? That was a weird scene.
Oh, my God. Oh, shit. You're right. Oh, my God.
Trevor, how did that movie end? That was weird.
What particular movie?
The Head of the Family 2. After it was like obvious that he was controlling Shatner.
So he all of a sudden starts thinking about what came first, the chicken or the egg, and his head just fucking explodes.
It blows up.
Not before having like 6 kids.
Yeah,
so you
exactly.
can have like 6 more sequels.
Exactly. But
by the way,
yeah,
it is titled. The sequel is entitled "Bride of the Head of the Family."
Makes sense.
Yeah. And do you know? And what's funny is, Full Moon Features actually had their hands in Reanimator, so I think they're kind of borrowing that from that franchise.
Which
Bride of the Head of the Family of the Reanimator?
Yeah, they should probably leave that alone. Reanimator is one of those movies that you just leave alone, man.
Yeah,
it's true.
Mm-hmm.
Well, with that being said, why don't we get into the score and if you recommended the movie and what you thought of the main villain.
Now, before we do that, though, Steve.
Oh, yeah.
Typically, you like to talk a bit about the movie and what people may enjoy
It's true. And I'd have to grab my notepad that I left downstairs.
God damn it, Steve.
Something evil is happening, and it's happening inside the children.
No!
Something beyond your worst fears.
Go! Go! To the house! Get out of here!
The children will carry you one step beyond horror to sheer terror. Pray you never meet them. The Children from World Not All, rated R.
Sweet. Okay, so you're gonna like this movie if you like a big old turd in a small toilet, trying to tell you true, lots of exposition, self-destruct switch in the house in the middle of the retard cage, and finally a family of retards controlled by a big brain.
Oh my God. Steve, I think you just summed up pretty much how ridiculous this movie was, and I appreciate that so much.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
It is fucking absurd.
It's ridiculous, and if they could change a few things, it would probably be a pretty good time.
Yeah, I agree. Like, if you see the cover, and then you're introduced to the Stackpole family, and then you read what it's about, it's so fucking ridiculous.
They needed more, if nothing else, they just needed more, like, violent scenes. Yeah. That's it.
So what I don't understand is you have this freaky family, and they're obviously gathering up people and committing torturous acts to figure out some way that this brain can get a body, and some fucking Joe Schmo with half a brain just blackmails this family. And he does it quite successfully until finally the head of the family doesn't want to go with it any longer. Like, it's just such a weird story.
Yeah. Especially for it not even being it's not like a horror movie at all.
No, it's fucking weird. So I say we go to let's do the score, the villain,
if you recommend it.
And if you recommend it. And we'll go with Danny first.
All right.
Why not?
Let's start with me. I'm okay with that.
For a change.
Yeah, no, right? So the score, I don't know the best way to put it other than, like, if a clown house was given a harpsichord and like a Rhodes guitar, I feel like that's what made the soundtrack.
You wouldn't be wrong.
But that's the extent of it. It was just weird, hillbilly-esque, playing the fiddle in the middle of the woods without shoes. Girl, you got some pretty teeth. Music.
Pretty
mouth. Like, that was the extent of the music to me. I didn't understand it at all. Like, if they were going for ominous tones, they literally could have just played ominous tones and it would have been better than the soundtrack.
Well, then what did you think of the villain?
Yeah.
I'm with you. I mean, it's a shame that the only times you see him are him getting spoon-fed by the, porn star from up north, and then when he flies down the stairs or he's sitting in the torture chamber, he doesn't do anything. He doesn't move the entire movie, except for he moves his lobster claw hands, which are somehow bigger than his head, which I didn't understand.
That means he has AIDS.
Oh God, that trick where you
learn new things every day.
You put your hand to your face and it's bigger than your face.
Yep.
I don't know. I wish I could have seen more of him, and I wish he would have been a little bit more diabolical.
I agree.
His whole thing was to get a new body, right? And yet all he could do is somehow manage to trap more hillbillies, which apparently didn't have the brain power to withstand his own brain. But that's all.
Yeah,
that's all he would kidnap, are redneck hillbillies. So why? I don't understand at what point he thought this was going to work. he gets outsmarted by a redneck hillbilly, and the only thing he can do is control everyone around him, but he can't even do that successfully. So, I mean, he's a super flawed character. I wish they could have done more with him, and I wish you could have seen him more.
I agree.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my take.
About you,
so,
Steve?
Trevor,
Well,
Steve.
Okay. Well, I think that the score was less good than the score from Life with Louie. It was kind of similar, but the bad guy, I agree with you. I think that he should have been way more sinister, and he should have been doing something. I would have liked to see him eating breakfast, wiping his ass, things like that. Like, and his plot was so like narrow-minded. Like, you expect a brain that big to be wanting to take over the world or like give James Bond trouble, but instead he just wants a different body.
Well, he even said at one point his goal was to take over the world, right? And then he can't even figure out how to get his brain into another body.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not going anywhere. Is Head of the Household just a movie about all the rejects that didn't make it far enough to almost take over the world? Like, this is a Stalin's runner-up, but he wasn't smart enough, so he just sort of got weeded out.
This was a more bad version of Pinky and the Brain. That's what this was.
It's true. He's kind of the same guy.
Yeah.
What about you, Trevor?
So I'll start out with the score. Danny's right. It definitely did not fit the movie. And to me, like, listening to it, it sounds really like, it sounds more of like a kid's comedy score.
Kind of like Life with Louie.
It's just it's just ridiculous. Like, it does not fit the movie at all. So I mean, it's really odd. I don't know. I can't explain it.
Like, I feel like that score could have matched up, Trevor. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but I feel like like Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Like, I feel like this score could have matched like with the sequel to Killer Clowns from Outer Space, and it would have fit it perfectly. But for this, it made no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, I agree. It's just odd. I guess what I'll do is we'll listen to the score. We can put it on and kind of just get an idea what it sounds like. There you have it. Yeah, but it's just it doesn't fit the movie. Now, the villain or the villains, I think it's a really cool concept and great idea, but the brains behind the operation is a fucking moron. He's not very smart. I mean, he's being outwitted.
When he has great ability, and he just he can't figure out how to use it.
Yeah, he's being outwitted by this lousy con man that manages like a diner deep in the South. And it's finally at the end, I mean, Lance comes to his demise, but it has nothing to do with the brain. Like, the brain should have completely crushed this guy. And it was just such an absurd story for somebody that's supposed to be like omnipotently brilliant. Like, it was just kind of ridiculous. And you don't get to see a lot of him. Like, I would have loved to see him like have like crazy ass like inventor contraptions that like made him like walk all over and like walk all over walls or like hover across the fucking.
So he could be a brain and have like those metal like
spider legs.
Spider legs. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Or maybe like, or maybe Otis just put him in his stomach like Krang.
Like your Krang idea.
But there wasn't any of that. I mean, it was. I just think this guy's head was full of dog shit, not brain. I mean, it was pretty
monkey brain.
Yeah, it was pretty pretty ridiculous. I think they could have done some good things with this, but it was just kind of dog shit.
What if they made here's an idea to make him better. What if they made him like how they did on Total Recall with Cueto?
Oh, like he was some fucking like
Like, what if he
Weird
was like a
martyr
giant
saint.
head? Yeah, so like you mix Krang and you mix Quato, and then you get this guy. Like, if he were part of Otis and like Otis ripped up his shirt and the brain was right there.
Oh, that's how it
that'd have
should.
made him a better character.
Sure, because then he would have had. I think he would have had more of a Achilles heel because he was attached to Otis, and even though he can maybe control Otis telepathically, you could kill Otis and he was immobile. Like, this guy was a
This guy
fucking
had no
genius,
way-
and he sits in a fucking medieval wheelchair made out of what seems to be wood and no like computers or anything. And we're talking, this is 1996. Like,
Yeah.
this is the height of the 90s, fucking incorporating the internet and computer technology into movies that didn't exist and still don't exist.
Right.
And this
Yeah.
guy's this.
Did anyone else speaking of his wheelchair? Did anyone else figure out what those vials of shit were? Were they literally like vials of piss and shit?
Maybe they were feeding
catheter.
his big old brain.
I don't know. I'm looking at the cover right now, and
portable cat. Yeah,
yeah,
like a portable catheter or something like that.
yeah. One of them looks like it's piss and shit. The other one's above his head looks like it's blood or some sort of serum that's like going into his brain. So I don't.
Which again, they didn't explain the entire movie.
They just didn't get into him enough. They should have spent less time talking about anything and more time just showing us him.
Yeah,
what he's doing.
Yeah.
What's powering him? Like, why is he? Because he could have been pretty interesting. He was like a Dr. Satan before Dr. Satan.
He
Or he could have been.
Yeah, he could have been.
Yeah, this is the problem. He's not as smart as he's supposed to be, and it's fucking annoying. Like,
I could do the things he was doing except for the psychic stuff.
Stephen Hawking had a computer that talked for him before 1996. Like, this guy doesn't have that. Like, if he's supposed to be this genius, I think this is just a story of like somebody who thinks they're fucking way cooler than they are or something. Like, because the guy's not very smart, and throughout the film he's completely undermined. Like, he's just not. I don't know. He's not very fucking smart.
Well, with that being said, then why don't we get into the rating?
Good call.
1 being the best B movie we can get, and 5 being an all-out dumpster fire.
Oof.
Why don't you go first, Danny?
Okay, so we know I either trash movies or I think they're awesome. So I'm gonna mix it up a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and give this, based on the fact that I still laughed in the movie. It wasn't as hard to sit through as some of the other stuff that we've watched. I'm gonna go ahead and give it 3.6 dumpster fires.
Nice.
Well, all right. That's pretty average.
And that's generous. That is generous for me for this.
Gotcha. All right, me next.
Sure.
All right. It's a really weird concept. This movie, if you just take the weird, strange family and put them aside before scripts put out and play, I mean, it could be so great and so kooky and fun.
Even with stuff that's in it.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, I mean, there's a huge amount of failure in this movie, and I think the biggest failure is the fact that this guy is not a genius other than his vocabulary.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just not very smart.
He talks like Frasier, though.
I would have loved to see. I would have loved to have seen more action with him using crazy inventions or like just being more brilliant. But the other characters were kind of funny. I think Otis was a perfect retard.
Mm-hmm.
I think the other brother, I don't know if we remember his name, with the crazy eyes.
No.
He was kind of funny. And Ernestina using her sex appeal.
Great name.
Yeah. Great actor, or great casting choice there.
The name is the best part.
Yeah,
Ernestina.
Yeah. Man, this is tough. I think I would give this. I'm going to give it a 4. I mean, I could go down to around like a 3.8, but I'm going to give it a 4 because it has the potential, I think, to be a 2.5, and it's just fucking shit in the bed.
Let me cut you off.
Okay.
And just start my
Let's
talk
hear.
here.
Yeah, I'll ramble forever.
I think that this movie has the potential to be like a 1. However, I think it's more in the neighborhood of 4 to 4.5.
Oh, whoa.
Because
you got to pick one.
Whoa.
We'll say 4.3.
Oh, okay.
So I can't remember. I can't remember my
right.
different ratings that I've given different stuff. So I'm gonna have to go back through and see all of the 20 or so film. What is that? 24 films that we've done, and figure out where everything sits. But as far as this one goes, if we would have had more of this guy, like, okay, the movie as it stands, with just more blood and like a gruesome scene, probably get it a 3. We change some stuff and get rid of some of those weird scenes with Loretta naked, and maybe and also have him following this guy around, seeing him be like an evil genius and doing like weird experiments and also be kind of kooky.
Yeah, like him like doing surgeries on patients, or like him with a giant computer that has like a globe on the screen,
right?
In red and green.
Well,
he has the
So that was one of the saddest parts, though. So like that first guy that they stole his truck, I can't remember what his license plate was, but they made it a point to say it like 3 times. Like, and the sound effects, like I even wrote down, I was like, man, the sound effects sound like they're really going to town on this guy, like they're doing something completely gruesome and everything like that, right? And then all you see out of all the people that were left, and which was all of them, because apparently he didn't kill any of them, were just like little incisions like on the head.
Well, so the big brain monster has the potential to be a mix between the Brain from Pinky and the Brain and Frasier and Grandpa Munster. And that movie, combined with the other stuff I said, would be a 1, because it'd be fucking great. And he could even yell like, "Mess with the head and you're dead."
Yeah, which is the like subtitle of the film.
Yeah,
and
the
it fucking
blurb or whatever.
Yeah, it doesn't do the movie
you
justice.
shout that while you're bashing people in the head with a little bashing thing.
What if he could fly out of his chair? Like at the end of the movie, he just like got up and flew out of his chair. Would that have made it better for you?
Dude, I think I would have gave the show a 1 if at the very end he would have just been wheeling down the street fast in his wheelchair to like shout at the devil.
Or even if he was just wheeling down on fire.
Yeah. To Don't Rock.
Dude, if he got out and they just showed him, if they showed him booking it on those little tiny feet and he's like running down the street and his head's moving back and forth like a bobblehead,
yeah,
I think that would have made it better too.
Or he's just rolling around the fucking house like a critter with his head.
Just his head. Yeah, any number of those things would have raised it several for me.
Oh, significantly.
Just at the very end, that's all.
Yeah.
Just make it super ridiculous for like 10 seconds.
Yeah, like, and I hate to fucking beat a dead horse, but he's supposed to be this crazy, like, giant brain. And if he can literally use telepathy to control 3 people, he should be badass. Yeah. And this guy, like, you see him in a wheelchair. If you saw this guy in a wheelchair in the street, you'd be like, holy shit, I want to be this guy's friend. And then you'd meet him and you're like, God, this guy's a fucking douchebag.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and at one point in the movie too, friggin' Lance, he walks in there because they're like, we need to meet with you, give us the letter. And he's like, no. And then he opens up his vest and he's got like loaded guns, right? And you're like, oh, okay, Lance is at least somewhat of a badass. Nothing happened with that. No guns, no shots being fired, like nothing the entire movie. And he could have just taken everyone out and been like, you're just going to do what I tell you to do and you're going to give me all your money. But like, he was just like, nope. Like, I don't know. There are just too many plot holes in this thing.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I guess with that being said, if there's anything else you guys want to add to this, go right ahead.
All right. Well, I'll go first. If a sequel comes out, you bet your ass I'll watch it.
Yeah, I'll watch it.
Will I regret it? It's quite possible.
Probably, because these people squander good characters.
Oh, yeah. Now, if you watch the promotional footage that they did for the sequel, which they actually have, you can see it online, there is another head in a wheelchair that is a female that he's married to. And
all right, I'm interested.
It's fucking ridiculous. Now, I don't know what it is. Like, maybe he took Loretta and cut her fucking head off and taped it on to some fucking malnurtured fetus. I don't know whatever you want to call it, but it looks pretty interesting. And I'll tell you, if it's just two fucking grown-ass adults with big heads and wheelchairs raising a few rugrats, I'll watch it.
Yeah. Watching television.
Yeah. Getting screamed at by their boss.
It's kind of stuff I'd be interested in.
How about you? Anything else, Danny? What do you think?
I think this is a movie that I think we should make a remake of it and see what we could do with it.
We could do a lot better.
Oh man.
Yeah, like I feel like the three of us together could make a better movie. Like with the game plan that these guys went in with, I feel like we could have totally made a better movie than what this was like. This how this turned out.
Oh,
I like the idea.
I agree.
Yeah. Other than that, I mean, not really. I mean, some of the wording in here, some of the stuff that they would say, like talking about candy lips and sugar lips and honey buns and jiggly
Big old
thighs
turd in a
and
small toilet.
Yeah,
they did throw around the word retard a lot, which I approved of.
It was just, I don't know. There's too much in the movie. I still enjoyed parts of it because, like I said, just watching the giant head fly down the stairs, that was enough for me to watch the movie at least once. But other than that, I just kind of like, meh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Well, in that case, thanks for stopping by, right?
Yeah, that's all I got. Number 20 is down, and we will have 21 up soon. If you guys have any rebuttals...
Or if you're even there.
Yeah. If you're, hello? No, but if you have any arguments that you would like to throw our way, stating this movie is fantastic, please share, because we would love to argue with you. You can get me at Trevor Turpin. You can get Steve at...
Steve Normand.
You can get Danny at...
Danny Butternubs.
And you can always, if you forget, you can just get us at B-Movie Trash Talk or facebook.com/B-Movie Trash Talk, and we will...
you can visit our website.
Oh, yes, at
bmovietrashtalk.com. You don't even need to put the W's, baby. The internet knows what the World Wide Web is.
Yeah. But send us your thoughts, and we'd be more than happy to discuss it. So this is an interesting one. Head of the family.
That's right.
But other than that, have a great night.
Thanks, everyone.
And be glad that Ron Boone didn't sprain his hand.
Got it caught in my sock.